The one most common human trait everyone shares is having some sort of childhood trauma. Whether it was daddy getting a demotion at work and taking out the anger on you after it, daddy just poof, not being there for you, falling off the playground slide and being left with the worst third-degree burns known to man. There's so many things that can happen in your childhood that permanently scar you for the rest of your life. And the one source of joy you have to distract you from this cruel world as a kid is cartoons. Kids could have came straight off Epstein's boat with the most traumatic and disgusting memories ingrained in their brain. But if they turn on one of the classic seasons of SpongeBob, not gonna lie, all of that trauma would go away for those 10 minutes. We all have our favorite cartoons growing up, of course, that we cherish to this day. But as much joy as they caused, I'm also starting to realize how much genuine trauma people actually have from cartoons. Like, there's so many callbacks to things people only find out and realize when they're older that were really odd. I think one of the most universally up confusing things they would have in cartoons is freeze frames. What is a freeze frame, you may ask? You remember when you were 8 casually watching an episode of SpongeBob, and in the middle of all the goofy shenanigans going on, it would just be the most disgusting, haunting, repulsive frame of something in the camera for a split second. Legit, I still have zero clue why they would just randomly throw in these frames every couple of random episodes. I know for a fact the writers was probably sitting up there dying laughing, making these frames just thinking, oh man, this is some good shit right here. These little rascals won't see it coming. And the thing is, to the writers, they probably thought it would just be some funny little joke to do and no one would actually think twice about it. But I've heard from a lot of people that are grown now, they still think back to them. And I also understand that feeling because some of these frames were definitely more disturbing than they should have been. My personal top 3 for the worst SpongeBob frames are the Nasty Patty frame. This one mainly got me because as a kid, you're not used to seeing the most molded out, disgusting food ever. You know, I was used to seeing a TV commercial S burger or one out of a Big Mac container, but this? Like, why does it have pimples with pus coming out the top? Why is there mold coming from the meat? Leaking substance from the middle? It's just gross. The next one is this still frame of SpongeBob right here. Never in my life should I have saw SpongeBob this detailed in the show as a kid. Nigga looks like the local crackhead you could find behind your local 7-Eleven. It's something about his beet red eyes, veins protruding and pulsing from his skin, his teeth rotting and falling out, the ingrown hairs at the top of his head. It kind of reminds me of those pictures of those ultra-realistic cartoon characters that really just shouldn't exist. Like when they make Mario look too realistic or the Simpsons characters look too realistic. And the last one that by far tops all of them is the Mr. Krabs naked frame. This feels way too NSFW, so YouTube, just keep in mind that this is an animated crab from SpongeBob, a family-friendly kids show. You can't make this up though, this is a real frame in SpongeBob. I don't know, maybe my mind's just up now because of the internet and seeing still frames like this. I can never look at these images the same anymore. But you can't lie, this frame looks like a diabolical edit could be made to it. The way Eugene Krabs is just staring down with his body all glistening and lighting. The way Plankton has his mouth gaping wide open. And to me, as a little kid, I thought I was seeing a grown-ass man naked for the first time. I thought I was finally getting the treatment of what happens to kids if you don't follow the stranger danger rule and get into the stranger's van. But it's just crazy that there's so many odd frames like this in SpongeBob you really remember, even if it was just for a split second. And if you didn't grow up with SpongeBob, you might be looking at this like, y'all were really scared of shit like this? Man, I was watching beheading videos at 5 years old. But you have to understand, as a kid, your knowledge is very little and you only start learning things in the real world up until then. Oh, but it wasn't just SpongeBob doing this. I remember another distinct cartoon show that was even worse at it. The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. Flapjack was really the type of show where you just had to be there for it. If you don't know, Flapjack is about a little sailor boy and his captain friend who live inside of a whale next to a floating dock full of thugs and trashy people. They live there in hopes of finding a map to Candy Island. Candy Island, where they can hopefully live out to eat as much candy as they want forever. Yeah, Flapjack's concept sounds totally insane for people that have never seen it, but Flapjack was a classic. Shit was a classic, I can't lie. And if you think SpongeBob has some creepy ass images,
Wait until you see Flapjack.
For example, one of Flapjack's episodes called Who Let the Cats Out of the Old Bag's House, Flapjack is walking around and finds this random cat on the dock. And as Flapjack goes to pick up the cat, it randomly gives us this close-up of the cat. When I say there's zero warning, no build-up, he literally just picks it up and it pauses on this frame. That frame alone clears all of SpongeBob and is enough to give a kid permanent PTSD nightmares. And Flapjack was doing this all the time with these disturbing ass frames. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one. That is a cut off finger with the tendon still hanging out. They was really wildin' with all these random ass frames thrown in the show randomly. But the cartoon that took the random creepy images frame to the max was
Courage the Cowardly Dog.
There is no way on Good God's Heathens this show would ever pass to air for kids now. By far, if we're talking about random creepy cutaways, it beats the race and laps everyone in it 10 times. For example, this scene when Courage is just casually sleeping on the bed and it cuts away to this creature. In general, this is just top 10 scariest things to ever come out of cartoon episodes in the 2000s. I'm still creeped out looking at this thing. And you have so many scenes with these nightmare-esque cutaways that everyone remembers at least one now. You got the classic Return the Slab clip with this creature, this entire episode with this white mask creature thing, whatever the this floating white head was, the freaky barber episode, the alien brain episode with a bunch of the creepy little alien minglings. But out of everything that came out from this show, the one thing I'll always truly remember is how much of a Eustace was. To this day, me and my homies hate Eustace. It's on sight if I see him. Another thing I want to talk about is even how some of the little kid shows back then were creepy. Teletubbies as the main example. Whichever TV producers gave the green light for Teletubbies to air on TV need to be found and interrogated. To this day, I haven't had anybody ever come up to me and be like, "Oh man, Teletubbies? Man, that was really my thing as a kid." Takes me back to amazing memories and a great time where there were no worries in life. No, no, no. Everyone just universally looks at this show back to how creepy everything is about it. First off, the look. Tell me, what type of child-friendly image is a bunch of colorful midget men with large black eyes and yellow pupils? It's exactly what I would have imagined the monster in my closet would look like as a kid. And doing some research for this video, according to Google, they're 7 to 10 feet tall. Niggas should have been balling on the court with Shaq and Kobe. Why are they out prancing and dancing in a magical prairie field? I think the fact that they're that tall is real too, because in the show you can see they barely fit in their own lab. And the sun green screen, baby. I swear, for a couple of years as a kid, I couldn't even look up to the sun without getting a PTSD seizure from remembering this ugly ass baby. And the last thing, they had this weird vacuum creature that would randomly just fondle the tubbies every once in a while. Okay, I might be a little off with that one. It was more like the thing would just, you know, annoy them and be a nuisance, but it was creepy regardless. I think it was just the live aspect with kid shows like this back then. I could say the same thing about Barney. No grown person thinks of Barney in a kid-friendly way now. It's some type of horror meme of him just looking weird. And apparently the creators of Teletubbies made a spin-off show later on with some of the creatures that were a bit more family-friendly looking. I didn't even know about it until researching for this video, but the show was called Booba. Maybe some of y'all know. And this is how the characters looked. How is it possible that they made even creepier characters for kids to watch? Booba is definitely the type of show kids watch that formed all these school shooters. But you know what? I'll grant it to them. It wasn't all of the shows. Like, shout out to Yo Gabba Gabba. Those were some real niggas right there. I want to go back to SpongeBob real quick, because although up to this point I've been mentioning scary episodes from shows that were meant to be somewhat scary, SpongeBob has some of the most unintentional, traumatizing episodes that people are still scarred by. Like, going back to the Nasty Patty episode, this is an episode where SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs actually
kill someone.
I'm gonna give a quick recap of it for y'all that don't remember. But pretty much in the episode, the health inspector walks into the Krusty Krab to do what health inspectors do. And Mr. Krabs, seeing this, not wanting the Krusty Krab to shut down, supplies the health inspector with unlimited food to satisfy him and make sure he doesn't actually lose. Then a report on TV comes up saying that a fake health inspector has been tricking people to eat in their restaurants for free. And we all know how Mr. Krabs' cheap ass gets when it comes to moolah. So him and SpongeBob, thinking he's the fake health inspector they saw on TV, decide to make the most disgusting concoction known to man and serve it to him as revenge. And right when the inspector's about to eat the burger, a fly goes into his mouth that kills him, which leads to SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs trying to bury the body. Why am I as a child witnessing a cartoon sponge and crab committing first-degree murder and burial? Granted, in the episode he didn't actually die, like he comes back at the end and is okay, but now you think my brain would interpret that shit? You've also got some honorable mentions like the hash slinging slasher episode with Nosferatu at the end, the Splinter episode where his finger ends up looking like this, the episode where everyone turns into a snail like Gary, the episode where he gets stuck at the bottom of the trenches with all of the aliens that are talking like this, the episode with the green screen gorilla. Actually, no, I was gonna finish it here, but whoever approved this episode needs to especially go themselves. Everything about the gorilla episode was so traumatizing. It's also random too, like at the end of the episode, the gorilla just randomly unzips himself from a skin costume of Patrick, proceeds to pick up Patrick and Sandy, put them in a sack, and beat them for hours. Meanwhile, SpongeBob is just watching helplessly through his window as we see the gorilla beating the hell out of them through the window. Then when SpongeBob finally decides to man up and step outside, the gorilla immediately sees him, grabs him, and rips him into 2 pieces. I think the scariest aspect about this episode is that it's not really played for any type of comedic joke. The gorilla looks so serious in these beatings. I just had to talk about that episode. That actually might be #1 in this entire list. It's so odd that SpongeBob is like the universally most watched kids show and has these unintentional scarring moments we all remember. And really, that's what a lot of these childhood shows and cartoons are. It's that childhood trauma aspect of it. These moments really sat with a lot of us, and even after the scarring we have from seeing live leak videos and everything Twitter has to offer, so you would think this stuff just wouldn't faze us anymore. But even the most disturbed internet minds seeing every type of gore you could imagine online will still get a trauma flashback to any one of these shows. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. As always, I love you guys consensually. And until next time, I'm out.